And now it's time for Fabulous Film and Friends. Welcome to the monumental 100th episode of Fabulous Film and Friends, where we are going to discuss the top 3 comedies of all time in this podcast host's estimation. We're talking about 1984's Spinal Tap, directed by Rob Reiner, starring Michael McKean, Christopher Guest, Harry Shearer, Tony Hendra, June Chadwick, and Bruno Kirby. Then we zoom on to 1985's Pee-wee's Big Adventure, starring Paul Ruebens, Elizabeth Daly, Mark Holton, Jan Hooks, Diane Salinger, Morgan Fairchild, and James Brolin. Topped off with 1987's Raising Arizona, directed by Joel and Ethan Coen, starring Nicolas Cage, Holly Hunter, John Goodman, William Forsythe, Francis McDormand, Sam McMurray, and Trey Wilson. I have an action-packed lineup of guests, starting with my kid sis and frustrated roadie Roseanne Caputi, IT tech, and lion wrestler, I don't know, Bert Brown, musician, editor, burrito and pastry lover Kendrick Wright, author, hypnotherapist, teacher, and musical theater aficionado Joe Field, and our very special guest tonight, the screenwriter of such sizzling thrillers as Jagged Edge, Basic Instinct, Sliver, and Showgirls, the one and only Joe Esterhaas. Welcome, Mr. Esterhaas. Oh, wait, no, my mistake. That's our own Gordon Alex Robertson letting it all go wild. Shaggy Alex, warm us up with your impression of a vicious man bear chewing on old Dan Haggerty's left foot.
You don't want to get caught up with a guy like me, Grizzly Adams. I'm a rebel, a loner. Where's that to pop here, honey? There you go.
Thank you. Before we commence with the back clapping and drinks on me at the Moulin Rouge, the synopses. Spinal Tap, a rockumentary, or mockumentary, if you will, following the fictional British heavy metal band Spinal Tap, chronicles their disastrous American tour after failed albums 6 years ago. Their tour forces them to come face to face with their age, egos, dwindling fame, and their crumbling careers. Pee-wee's Big Adventure. The madcap Pee-wee Herman embarks on a desperate cross-country journey to find his stolen bicycle, encountering a cadre of zany characters and bizarre situations. Raising Arizona. H.I. McDonough, an ex-con with a passion for robbing convenience stores, and his police officer wife, Ed, short for Edwina, are unable to conceive. When unpainted furniture kingpin Nathan Arizona's wife gives birth to quintuplets, Ty and Ed kidnap one of the babies, leading to a chaotic and life-changing, one might say life-affirming series of events. Okay, am I right, everyone? Are these the top 3 comedies of all time? Do you dispute this? Let's find out. All right. Going around the room. I'll go first just to set the groundwork or set the parameters. I've seen these movies a lot, probably 20 to 30 times each, I think. I've seen them a lot. So with the most recent viewing, where I practically know all the dialogue of all the films like the back of my hand, and if it's the same for you, which film do you find the funniest? Even though if you've seen them a lot like I have, which one still makes you laugh? Alex Robinson, you're up first.
Raising Arizona.
Bert, thoughts?
The number one, the one that makes me laugh the most is Raising Arizona.
Kendrick Wright.
That's a good question. I would probably say Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Not a bad answer. Joe Field?
I would go with Pee-wee's Big Adventure as well.
And last but not least, Roseanne Caputi.
I thought you were going first to set the groundwork.
Well, I set the groundwork. I gave the parameters. What did you find funniest on this viewing?
Spinal
And
Tap.
I can attest for my viewing or listening and viewing audience, Roseanne has seen these films probably as much or if not more than I have.
So Spinal Tap.
Spinal Tap. Interesting. Who left the building? Oh, okay. Bert. All right, you're back. All right.
My camera cuts out.
I'm gonna say on this round, Raising Arizona. I laughed the most, without forcing it or telling myself that's funny. There was nobody around, so I didn't force my laugh. It was just me on the sofa watching them. So Raising Arizona, just legitimately laughed at the cartoonish antics. Followed by Pee-wee, and then Spinal Tap. Spinal Tap is all smiles, but I didn't laugh that much this viewing. Now, here's the thing about Spinal Tap with me. My brother, Claude, told me about the film before I saw it. So I watched that film expecting to just be on the floor with laughter, and I wasn't. But I bought the film, and I like it a lot, and I laugh, and I think it's all hilarious, but I've never really busted a gut at it. I think, well, this leads to the next question. I'll shut up for a second. Of the three films, Roseanne Caputi, go through each film. What's the funniest scene in each film?
Okay. Let's see. So Spinal Tap, this time watching it, I still think them talking about their, I guess especially because it's all them talking about their reviews for their albums is one of the funniest parts in the whole thing. I know it's a smaller part, but what day was Spinal Tap created, and couldn't God have rested on that day too? Is an amazing line. And all of their reactions are so beautiful. Let's see, with Pee-wee, it'll always unfortunately be the Exhibit A and cable knit sweater that someone keeps knitting and knitting. It'll always be that meeting. Although again, the Alamo is neck and neck, and Madame Ruby and all of it. But I don't know, Alamo and the meeting with Amazing. Something you want to share with the rest of us, Amazing Larry? And then Raising Arizona. Let's see, man. They were jamming. They had Yodas and shit all over them. I can't. Maybe that. I just like maybe the car, and maybe the grocery store. I don't know. That's a very hard question.
You gotta pick one though. Just
There's
one.
no way.
One to take with you.
If it was just one, then I wouldn't think these three were the funniest movies ever. If it was okay, so one, then
What
it's
scene?
keep your goddamn hands off my wife. Running
Funniest
into
scene in the whole
cactus.
movie?
I hate that you essentialize
answer,
movies
Gino.
like this.
It doesn't
Come on.
matter. I'm just wanting.
It
I want to know.
does matter.
You have to pick the best scene. The scene you're gonna post on YouTube. Funniest scene ever.
Howdy, Kurt. I mean, it doesn't. I got nothing.
That's the scene that sold me on the movie. I remember I cracked up at that, and then immediately I was in. Like I didn't know what I was in for, and when he said "Howdy, Kurt," I remember laughing really hard, and then I was into the movie at that point.
So I love Howdy, Kurt. I love all the prison stuff. So maybe we ate sand. Fine, we ate sand. There.
All right, I'm gonna move on to you, Ken. In all three
Shit.
films, what's the funniest? No,
Well,
not all three.
you know-
Each film, which is the funniest?
Oh, which is the funniest?
Wait,
Oh, well, I mean,
I need to back up real quick. Do you guys agree with me? Are these the top three of all time? Ken Wright.
Well, yeah, let me weigh in on that, and I would say not really. But how did you come to this? Is it like gross earnings, or like what was
No,
your criteria?
no, no ChatGPT. I came to the three films where I laughed the hardest.
Grok.
Oh, okay.
Now, Spinal Tap, I didn't laugh as hard as I wanted to because I knew every joke coming because my brother
Right.
told me all about it.
Mhm.
But I still, when
Right.
I bought
Okay.
it, over time, just laughed. It's just, there's just so many gems to appreciate. You just go, yeah, it's great. But,
I think
Now-
these three movies the funniest is a more valuable question than the funniest scene in each movie. That's so hard.
well, I just want to
You
know.
just want the answer.
If you go
Okay.
through, what scene just strikes you as the winners? Like that slays me. That's the movie, the scene that proves its worth. Like it's just,
Hayseed Bank. Sorry. Okay.
they're all,
go.
well, yeah. Okay, so Ken,
Yeah.
Well, let me just answer this one question. So you would put all these three above Airplane?
yes, yeah. Top
Okay.
Secret was actually in consideration. I think Top Secret's a much funnier film than Airplane. But yeah, the Zaz brothers, these films actually have sort of a philosophical, metaphysical purpose where Airplane's just gags. That's just gags. So Top Secret's good.
Okay.
It's better than Airplane, but it's just, they're still just gags. There's nothing beyond gags, and that's like any movie, like Star Wars or Star Trek: The Motion Picture, just being special effects, or some things are just they're fine, but they don't have more to it than what they're offering. Whereas these
Mhm.
films are not only just great comedies, they're great movies and have a lot to say. That's all. Bert, would you agree that these? Oh, Bert's disappeared, phasing
Yeah.
in and out of the space-time
Okay.
continuum.
I know my new camera is not all that great.
Isn't that the way it is?
Yeah.
Would you agree it's top 3 comedies of all time, or you just think you're just here for the ride?
Well, I think Raising Arizona's up in that level. And Pee-wee's is pretty funny. I had never seen Spinal Tap till you said to watch it,
Oh,
and I didn't like it. I
oh,
didn't think it was very funny. There were some things that made me laugh. And if you want to do the 3 favorite scenes or 3 funniest scenes, there wasn't one specific scene, but every time they showed what you called him Shearer, I always said Shearer. I don't know, Harry Shearer, the bass player,
yeah.
with his big sideburns and all the and his outfit. Every time I saw him in his outfit, I laughed out loud. I don't know why. When I was in his stage outfit, because I was
How
like,
many times did you? So to me, if I laugh solidly 3 times in a movie, it's funny. So Spinal Tap had way more than 3 solid laughs.
okay.
No,
I don't know.
you didn't laugh 3
There was
times in
just a
Spinal
ton
Tap.
of. I didn't realize all these what I call famous people were in it, or famous at the time.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what to expect at all. I knew it was some little pretend, movie.
Oh, phasing
And
out, Bert.
I'll be back. I know how to click myself back in. Um, I I don't know. I just was watching that one, and I don't know. The jokes didn't hit me right. I guess there was an element of what I call reality. When they're showing the road and they're showing the stage and they're showing the production and all the stuff that goes in behind the scenes and stuff. I'm like, yeah, that I'm sure that happens. And so they were just making fun of it. And then the Pee-wee's Big Adventure, I had not seen that in a long time. And, uh, but I still remember lines from it because I thought it was funny back then. And then I thought it was funny again. My wife didn't. She goes, "This is dumb." But I thought it was funny. My favorite line was "Deep in the heart of Texas,"
Yeah.
at the Alamo. That one was always a bust out. And
I
and
did
I
laugh a lot at
yeah.
that.
And I was like Large Marge.
Come on, how about the
Uh,
Alamo?
well,
Remember,
that's where it
I
was. Yeah.
remember the Alamo.
Deep in the heart of
Yeah.
Texas
Yeah.
is at the rodeo. I'm just
Yeah.
I had it mixed up. It
Yeah.
is the remember. I
Yeah.
remember the Alamo.
Yeah.
That
It's
Yeah,
all
I
that.
remember
But the
There's
Deep in the
really
heart of
good,
Texas
really
made me
good.
laugh.
There's
Yeah.
really good chorus and crowd humor
Yeah.
in Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Mhm.
Unstoppable. Like I don't think anybody's ever topped the use of supporting
Right.
players to
Yeah.
to carry the joke into hilarity. So
And
yeah,
then on the Raising Arizona, I laugh at a lot, but and one thing I quote occasionally is only those 2 words at the parole board. Okay, then. That always makes me laugh.
yeah.
So I don't know why, but it does.
Well, it's funny, especially when the preacher says it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Joe. What's your experience with these films? Have you seen them a lot?
The only one that I'd seen before was Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Oh,
Um, so for me, it was a pretty fresh watch for the other 2, and it'd been probably over 10 years since I watched Pee-wee's Big Adventure. So
wow.
there were a lot of things that I'd forgotten that I appreciated the second time around.
Well, am I wrong? Are they top 3
Um,
of all time?
I wouldn't put them at the top 3 personally. I would put at least 1, maybe even 2 Mel Brooks movies up there. Young Frankenstein and maybe Blazing Saddles.
Hmm. I'm not a
And
big I don't love Mel Brooks. I think he's like a little bit. I think he's a little bit higher than the Zaz brothers, but he's a joke guy. It's all just jokes. He never has a plot. So it's zany, but there's no heart to his film. So I think a good comedy actually works on without having to be funny. So, Spinal Tap and Pee-wee and Raising Arizona all work as a plot. They all work as stories of sort of coming to terms with life and mediocrity and being an oddball. There's actually stories there. Whereas Mel Brooks is sort of, yeah, he's not as obnoxious as the Zaz brothers, but he's just gags. Spaceballs and Men in Tights definitely prove like, yeah, he's just gags. So that's why he doesn't get better. He got worse. So I think, yeah, he's sort of the bridge between old time vaudevillian style comedy versus a more complex comedy that started in the 70s through now. And yeah, it's just like, yeah, it's just gags, it's jokes. So that's my thought on it. Does anybody agree? Want anybody to dispute that? Is Mel Brooks deeper than I give him credit for? Alex, you like Blazing Saddles a bunch.
Yeah, I do, and I disagree, but I do agree. I think it does tackle a thorny subject, and it does it in a funny way. And it's a movie that couldn't get made today because of that.
Yeah. But is it as good as the films? Let me ask you that. Am I wrong or right about
personally?
these top three?
Personally, I would put, I would leave Raising Arizona on that list because it is one of my top favorites, and it just gets better every time I watch it. And I would put Blazing Saddles in that category. That's one of my tops. I would put it over Pee-wee or Spinal Tap. As much as I enjoyed those two.
Blazing Saddles?
Yes, Blazing Saddles.
Get him, Roseanne.
That's
my
right.
attack dog, Roseanne. Blazing
I'm
Saddles.
a child
is
of the
still,
70s.
Yeah, but it's about racism, but it's only I think it's a superficial tale of racism, honestly.
Well,
It's
I'm a
not
superficial
that deep.
kind of guy.
The most profound I feel like that movie gets is the pan out with Hitler and things like this. And I like Blazing Saddles and I love Young Frankenstein. And I laugh a lot at Young Frankenstein, but I just think it's
I'm going to put it.
these
in my
are
top list.
homages these are homages with great performances. They're not.
But I could even argue that Raising Arizona has a lot of homages to it. You know, I mean, they certainly were.
Well, all movies have some sort of.
You could say it
becomes its own thing.
But I think that Blazing Saddles became its own thing. Now, maybe Young Frankenstein, because he does a good job copying, Whaley, the director, the original director of Frankenstein. They really got that look. And I think a lot of credit goes to the cinematographer. I can't think of his name right now. He actually ended up in Ashland, Oregon in his final years. But, you know, that was a wonderful homage. Anyway, not to get too far off the subject, but I'm putting Blazing Saddles in one of my top comedies. Right up there with Raising Arizona, which I think sits for me right now, sits at the top. It wears its crown well.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Pee-wee is funnier than anything Mel Brooks did, for sure. And I've
but I wouldn't argue, but Pee-wee's a very, I don't know if I'd compare those two because there's some, to use a word that Roseanne said earlier. But to use something that Roseanne said earlier, Pee-wee has a certain transcendence to it. And the more you watch it, the more you start to peel away like, yeah, he really was onto something here. I don't know if it's just the combination of Paul Ruebens and Tim Burton and Phil Hartman.
But there is also, though, they are
good. I'm not saying it isn't.
They're Jewish American outsiders experiencing American culture. So I think they're comparable entirely.
Well, I think what's interesting about
Pee-wee is more successful and joyful, whereas Mel Brooks, for all his gags, is a more cynical person. There's less joy in Mel Brooks than there is in Pee-wee about what it is to be a Jewish American and to love America.
Yeah. Well, I think Mel Brooks's Semitism does come out.
I think so does Pee-wee.
But see, here's the thing.
Pee-wee is much more subtle.
Well, here's
Don't you think it's more subtle? If you take an average moviegoer, would they get it? I don't think so. I mean, if I went in with fresh eyes, I wouldn't think, oh, this is a take on Jewish American experience.
But his tastes, certainly Jewish, gay, everything that, that is.
Just in terms of the kitsch, the Americana?
Yeah.
You think, okay, I don't know. I mean,
but
he's exposed to?
I think but I think Pee-wee's much more successful and not beating you over the head with what he's talking about.
For sure.
No, he doesn't.
Mel Brooks pretty much broadcasts he's he's throwing fat juicy cherries at the pitch at the batter.
Well, he's the guy with the rubber chicken.
Very easy jokes to understand. Yeah. Whereas Pee-wee's Big Adventure is a much more complex movie about the American experience. And it's funnier. It's about like all the things Pee-wee loves are really funny. He loves big breakfasts and malts and tuna platters, and it's all this sort of Americana mixed with Japan and the sort of growing up in the 50s. It's all there, and it's wrapped up in a sort of message about staying true to yourself, much better than what Mel Brooks offers. Last time I watched Blazing Saddles was at your house, and I was struck with how obvious everything was. I thought, man, I never realized. I used to love it as a kid because it's funny, but it doesn't transcend into a great movie to me. It's funny, it's gags. But he broadcasts his message, which I didn't understand as a kid. Like, oh yeah, this is a very obvious film about this subject. He gets Richard Pryor to do it, to write the screenplay. So he gets help, and it all just it's very 70s, still stuck in the Johnny Carson era and the Milton Berle era. Whereas Pee-wee, he's sort of the bridge to a new form of
well,
comedy,
but wouldn't
the
you
sort of
say
David
that
Letterman era?
Pee-wee and Spinal Tap are much more modern in terms of comedy, I would say.
Would you say that Pee-wee's Big Adventure is one of the first baby boomer comedies? Because that's what I get a lot of from that, and I mean that in a respectful way.
I never thought of it that way. I never thought of it that way.
Because of every
but it's true. It is sort of turning the Father Knows Best era on its ear for sure.
Yeah,
and you can see how much love he has for it, and at the same time he distorts it.
Well, that's the other thing. He doesn't seem to be mocking those things. I mean, he really goes about it just like his character, wide-eyed, optimistic. Nothing gets him down. Even if he's down, he's not down for very long.
And yet by being that character, he adds this level of absurdity that subverts all these norms in the least offensive, most exciting way. And I feel like that's the modernity, whereas Mel Brooks is this product of vaudevillian comedy, which again, I think has value, but I think doesn't come across in such a significant way.
I mean, he was a writer for Sid Caesar. So
I get it.
I
have a soft spot in my heart for Mel Brooks for life. But it's a different kind of comedy for sure. And I do just think that the Pee-wees and the Spinal Tap and Raising Arizona are much more satisfying because the jokes linger as opposed to Mel Brooks's, which are obvious. They rise and they fall at the exact time that you expect them to.
Well, it's like Mel Brooks, pulls out the rubber chicken. We laugh. With
There's
Pee-wee,
no slow release.
With Pee-wee, the rubber chicken becomes part of the story somehow. Sure. Somehow it's like, okay, that's a very unique take.
Yeah, it's not a throwaway. It stays. No. And look his collection of oddballs. They all end up at the end of the film, and he's celebrating all of them. Yeah.
That's
the hobos,
the thing.
The bikers, the convicts.
Exactly.
It's a celebration of everybody.
Well, in a way, though, and all three, I think, are about being outsiders and not wanting to be insiders. And I don't know if I believe that about Mel Brooks, that he continues to want to be an outsider.
Yeah.
So his celebration of the outsider feels a little bit more counterfeit than I would say these three films.
And I'm fortunately bringing up a prior conversation, but I was talking about Steve Martin, who's more in the Milton Berle. He's not. Steve Martin's a big, stupid egomaniac. So his films can be funny, but ultimately he's serving himself, where Pee Wee Herman doesn't. Pee Wee Herman isn't really like the total hero all the time. And he's much better at comedy because he doesn't make you go, oh, so this is all just in service of how awesome you are. Right. And that's that. Mel Brooks is still sort of that, and he really proves it in Spaceball. But anyway, if we were going to talk about Mel Brooks, we should have brought him.
Should have brought him up.
Anyway,
we should have done Blazing Saddles.
It should be Joe's three favorite scenes.
Anyway, we just
but again, we had to talk about why are these the three greatest comedies of all time, and I say yes. But anyway,
You're getting some pushback.
That's fine. That's fine. So who agrees with me? Roseanne, do you agree with me?
I do.
So me and Roseanne against you 4 mugs.
It's that veil water.
Well,
all right, but anyway, that's not the
commence
discussion. So I guess we can't. Well, we can keep discussing, I suppose. I mean, I don't care how this goes. I say they're the funniest because they're solidly funny and tell a story without only relying on gags, and that's my criteria for a good comedy. And they're rare. Films like that are rare. Most comedies do just rely on gags and slapstick. So Ken, what's your thought?
Well, I was going to agree with you that the majority of comedies are not that interesting, really. They are just superficial. It's like, here's the joke, we've done the joke, and let's go on to the next funny, or the next setup. And I think that's very superficial. So I'm not a big fan of like the Tommy Boy movies or the early Steve Martin movies. Now I will say that I think Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, he really toned it down. I think that's a really good comedy, and that is a heartfelt comedy. So I think things, that's what makes a good comedy, even something like Groundhog Day. So I think there are other movies that have the full movie.
Oh, Groundhog Day is great for sure. That would be like 4, 5, 6. Whatever the next tier of all times are. Groundhog Day for sure. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles I watched recently. It didn't hold up. It's really mawkish.
Oh, really?
I just thought it was mawkish and not as funny as I remembered. And again, my wife's good sense doesn't lie. She wasn't interested. She goes, "This is kind of corny," and I went, "It is." Oh. I knew it had a little bit of mawkishness even when I first saw it, but it didn't hold up. I was like, okay, it's fine, but it's not an all timer. Like better and better as it is.
How about what? No, I'll give you one of my favorite.
Don't say the fucking Apple Dumpling Gang.
No,
Smokey and the Bandit. Oh, here it comes, Smokey and the Bandit.
Oh, no, Smokey and the Bandit. I will put Smokey and the Bandit up there. Absolutely. I will put that at the top. However, I'll also just say Rushmore. Rushmore, I think, is a great.
Sure.
Oh yeah. For sure. We already did. For one thing, it's up there, but I can't discuss it because we already discussed it on the show. Yeah, I love Rushmore, but it's not top 3. It's again, I'd say it's third tier after maybe second. It's hard to know. Second tier possibly, but I like The Life Aquatic the most of Wes Anderson.
Oh yeah.
I love The Life Aquatic. I thought Life Aquatic was one of those films where I was just laughing all the way through. But we're talking about these films from my 100th episode. So
it's my show.
Yeah, exactly.
And guess what I want?
I want exactly a new brain. All right, so let's go back to favorite scenes.
That's Joe. That's where we're
Get back to Joe.
Joe, favorite scenes in each.
Okay. For Spinal Tap, I had 2, but one that I liked, it was just really just a visual gag, was when they're on stage and he starts playing his guitar with a violin and then adjusts the key of the violin as he's playing. Which to me is just like a hilarious, but I think could be overlooked kind of moment. For Raising Arizona, having the old timer count backwards.
Oh, bullshit.
And then he stands up and sees them coming back. I was like, gosh, okay. Has to get back down again.
Well, it's funny when you watch that scene, he really did get to 850, I think, because when they're coming back, he's counting down.
Yeah.
So it's like he really did it. Got over halfway there.
Yeah. Yeah. And Pee-wee, what was Pee-wee's best scene?
I have to go also with How Do You Know That You're in Texas? Living here, it just makes it even funnier for me. So.
All right. We got Bert. Ken, did we get your favorite scenes from each film?
No, I haven't gotten those. Although I am famously have a poor memory, but I will say that the thing that I laughed most at in Pee-wee was the I don't remember anything. Well, what do you remember? I remember the Alamo. Oh yeah, then the big whoop.
Yeah.
And I also like the very beginning, just the dream where there's a Tour de France cyclist and he's just tooling right along. I thought that was a really good gag. And then for Spinal Tap, I mean, I don't know if this is cliche or not, but when they're coming out of the cocoons and Harry Shearer can't
You
make
said
it out.
mine. Yeah, to me, that still makes me laugh. I laugh the hardest this time, even though I know it's coming. That's the scene when he pumps his fist when he gets stuck in it. That's just comedy gold. It's so funny. Like every time I see it, it's the funniest gag, especially with the roadie setting fire with the blowtorch. It's too good. Yeah, that's because it does. I feel that scene doesn't get enough love because everybody says, "Oh, this one goes to 11," and I'm like, yeah, but Rock and Roll Creation is funny right through. Like they're playing the song. I love how Michael McKean and they keep talking to each other, and like it's live and they're trying to roll with it, but they got this guy hammering on the thing. It's just it's like it just keeps building to pure hilarity with the perfect topper with the fist pump. It's just great. So yeah, that's my favorite scene about that. Did you say Raising Arizona? Oh yeah, the old guy counting down. Oh, that one. No, that was Joe's.
That was Joe.
Talking about poor memory.
Right. So Raising Arizona, I have a hard time with. Like obviously, like a lot of good scenes. Like it's the one I saw the furthest to go, and so I can't they don't come right up to my memory. But I liked. I remember. Just John Goodman, the scenes that he was in, I just loved what he was doing, and just bringing that, not menace, but that sort of
I'd say
general menace.
No, there's menace for sure.
Yeah.
Coming out of the earth.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wailing.
Yeah. Alex?
Yes.
I know you love these films, even if they don't measure up to. So favorite scenes in each one.
Spinal Tap. It's got to be the Stonehenge scene, and I think what I love about it is we see the gag coming when he shows his little drawing, and you notice it. It's like 18 inches, But they just play it straight. They play it through, and that thing comes down, and the dwarfs come out. I mean, it really does go after just the grandiose, self-indulgent attitudes of these rock stars, where everything has to be so big. Because apparently they said it was making fun of Led Zeppelin, one of their shows, just big Stonehenge everywhere. It just has to be massive and huge. It's like every time the Rolling Stones go on the road, it's got to be big. It's got to be huge. And you kind of lose sight of the music after a while. But that kind of brought it back to the music, but that's.
Can we just shout out really fast Angelica Houston in this movie? I think she's so funny in that one scene. I have this napkin. It says 18 inches. I have this napkin. Sorry.
She's got the receipt,
Yes. Yeah. And I think she later, I think she's an underrated comedic actress, honestly, especially works she does in Wes Anderson's movies. And so to see her in this funny, teeny little scene, I just love. Anyway, sorry to step on it.
It's okay. No, that's funny. So Pee-wee, the scenes with Mickey, it's the roadblock just cracks me up. I mean, it just gets funnier and funnier. And even with that, that old cliche of him looking over at Pee-wee in the dress, it's still just, and the more you read about that scene, how Paul Ruebens based that on his sister, her look and her demeanor. But it is such comic gold. And it's
plus talk about Milton Berle. It is a throwback to Bugs Bunny. So it's like a Bugs Bunny gag, but it's both films, Raising Arizona, all three films.
No, they're both. Well,
all three films excel at casting the right old timers and schmoes. So you got that big fat cop. I just want to see that pretty little outfit you have on.
Outfit you got on.
It just gets funnier and funnier.
Plus the fact Mickey's hilarious 50s goatee or early 60s goatee and his glasses. The whole thing.
Got the denim on.
Yes.
looks like a twisted Leon Trotsky.
It's the best.
And even just his reaction.
No. Yeah, no, it's comic gold.
Yeah, and and then Raising Arizona, well, it ain't Ozzie and Harriet. When he grabs the Huggies, it is the perfect punchline to a great joke, starting with, "Wake up, son. I'll be taking these here Huggies and whatever you got in the register." That
Jugs.
scene, Jugs, Whitey reading the Jugs
Whitey.
magazine, and
Yeah.
Whitey with an oversized hand cannon,
Yeah.
like a 44. And
Whitey's
I've
teeth.
said this before, but I mean, when I saw that in the theaters, I didn't know what to go into it expecting it. And I'll never forget when he grabs the Huggies, the whole theater just erupts in applause. I mean, that was
Yeah.
was a wonderful time, 87. It really was. And it was like, I'm home, you know. I mean, that if there was any doubt, that was the scene where it was like, okay, this is without a doubt one of the funniest movies I've ever seen. And it's not even over. We got
Yeah, right.
It gets funnier and
it gets funnier and
Raising
funnier.
Arizona, we saw it on video at a friend's house, Roseanne and I, and that I remember not really wanting to see it because it was an independent film, and I didn't like that in my 17-year-old mindset. It was like, I don't really want to see this, so I was sort of sitting down, sort of impatient, and I immediately, again, howdy Kurt, I immediately started cracking up, and that film, I think, consistently, we were all just laughing, like explosions of laughter in that room. We had a pretty big crowd as we were like a dinner party, and we watched it. And back in the good old 80s when we would pop a VHS in and everybody sat around and watched it. I just think even still, I always think of that was one of the hardest I've ever laughed at a film. And Pee-wee's Big Adventure, same thing. I didn't see it in the theaters mainly because it came and went because nobody knew what to make of it. I wanted to see it because I knew of Pee Wee Herman from David Letterman. But yeah, so Pee-wee's Big Adventure, that was not like, oh, it just like it surprised me. I knew all about Pee Wee Herman because I knew him as a comedian. So I was ready for it, wanted to see it. And of course, we're in Vail, Oregon, or Ontario, Oregon, it came and went. I remember my classmate, Chad Lucart, if you're listening, he was like, that is the dumbest movie. Adults acting like kids. And that is just so stupid, you know? And I was like, I liked it, you know? I liked it a lot. Anyway, so that one, but I felt it would be funny, but the reviews, Siskel and Ebert and everybody, they were pretty down on it. Leonard Maltin, all the reviewers at the time, they were like, it's okay. It's kind of funny, whatever.
Well,
but
Siskel gave it 0 stars.
Yeah, they were all down on it, and so I didn't think it was be that good. So we rent it, and I remember I was watching my friend Dan Bennett and Roseanne. We were cracking up. I was cracking up. I'm gonna say, so let me just go through the scenes. The scenes that I still just thrilled to. John Goodman with the chicken. Is she? Think about it, H.I. Seems to me you're not being true to your nature. Hilarious. That whole entire scene is one of the funniest, most brilliantly written scenes in all of cinema history, I think. That with him talking H.I. into, well, you know, I think she's a fine woman, but I think she needs one button-down type. Oh, I don't really think that's in here, you know. The whole thing is just so fun. It's cartoonish and deep at the same time as this demon basically tells Hi, get back into a life of crime with us. And looks like a hayseed bank. Tell the truth, it is a hayseed bank. So funny. Like, just one of the best, the most crisply written scenes ever. So that's my favorite in Raising Arizona. Pee-wee is Tina. Like, the first time when she came in with that smile, when Jan Hooks busts in, are there any Mexican Americans here today? And I may be wrong, but I always thought Pee-wee raised his hand. But I just think it's the camera angle.
The person next to him.
Yeah, but it's still in my first impression was Pee-wee raised his hand and he's like looking so bored, like, yeah. So but the whole thing just had me in tears. Like, I was laughing so hard because I didn't know who Jan Hooks was, you know. And but like 2 years later, she showed up on Saturday Night Live. But
the fact that it goes just down the line, Inez has that she seems very proud of, and glaze.
It's awesome. It's so funny. There's no basement in the Alamo. And then the old Charlie Brown gag again. It's a Charlie Brown gag of everybody laughing him out of there. It's just so funny. Like, just perfect comedy in that whole scene. And Spinal Tap, I don't remember laughing as hard. So that's one of those films that all the comedy sneaks up on me. So this time it was Rock and Roll Creation. I think the first time it was Nigel Tufnell just throwing a fit over the hors d'oeuvres. That was the funniest thing I'd seen. Like, it's still a hilarious scene. So I've often told Roseanne about this, that I think I should do a podcast about the what's the word, Roseanne? The underappreciated genius of Michael McKean. So I think he carries Spinal Tap, and I think he's one of these actors who's always freaking awesome, and no matter what he's in.
Well,
so,
if you were comparing all three films, and if you were doing your usual, like, who is the best lead, it would be really tricky, obviously, because Pee-wee...
Can't do it.
You can't do it. So you actually really have to talk about each one individually, because they each create this world. And it's insane that it's Nicolas Cage. Like, I look at Nicolas Cage now, and though he's still like a compelling performer and an interesting guy, it's him creating H.I. McDonough is a different level to what he does now, obviously.
Yeah. Well, I think the bonehead films he did got to him.
How could they not?
You got Con Air and all that shit, and it's just
National Treasure, and
I think he
dulled his edge considerably.
Yeah. I mean, I wish he was here to tell us about it, but like, why have you? Okay, but adaptation, which is probably up there, on at least rounding up the top 10. I love adaptation, and he's awesome in it. So I don't know if he's completely gone, but he just doesn't tap into it much.
Maybe he doesn't tap into it much, and maybe people don't expect him to. So I don't know. And Pee-wee is such a different thing, because it legitimately is his alter ego, and it is performance art in so many ways. So that's this whole different level. So I don't know. So if you were looking at those three performances, you could say everything about them, and yet they're not. You can't compare them.
Well, let's get the tables, the round tables opinions. Ken, start with you. Who's your favorite performer of the three? And not in spite of the three movies. Who do you think did the best job?
I would have to give it to Pee-wee Herman, just because he did create that entire. He's a unique individual. Like, there's nobody else like Pee-wee Herman, and he manufactured it out of nothing. And I think it's just an amazing, creation.
Yeah, Bert, you have thoughts on it?
Well, only because I think Raising Arizona is funnier, I would select Nicolas Cage. Watching it this time, I don't know. It was funny to watch him so young, and I don't know. There was just a difference about him. You guys talked about it a little bit with his different movies he's done since then. But this one is just, I don't know. It's classic. It's like, and I've said it before, I think on this podcast, that this was the first movie I ever bought on VHS, was Raising Arizona.
Yeah.
So it's like, I remember buying it, but in Payless drugstore.
No less.
Do you still remember the price code on it?
Yeah, no. I do remember the code. I do remember the pattern, but I don't remember how much it was.
Just to fill you guys in, we could determine how much the cost of something was based on the code. So how much profit they were making off of it.
Yeah, because plus we got cost plus 10%. So whatever
so I'd know that I had to pay 10% more.
Benefited.
Yeah.
Oh,
boy.
But that one, I don't know. He's just really funny.
Yeah, but don't you do you not see a kindred spirit in Pee-wee with Nicolas Cage? Because I do. I feel like they're almost
I like
cousins.
Pee-wee
no, but
well,
in approach, they're almost cousins. Because Nicolas Cage has never been so much like a Looney Tune character as he was in Raising Arizona.
Yeah, that's true.
Look at him under the truck.
The car,
when Tex Cup pulls him, he's grabbing onto the grapple. And Nicolas Cage's twitching eye. It's so funny. He looks just like a cartoon.
So
it's a hilarious sight gag.
He's definitely Wile E. Coyote that whole scene.
It's pure Bugs Bunny, and it's still fun. Like
even the grenade at the end.
Yeah,
is Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah,
sure. Absolutely.
Well, he has a Roadrunner for a reason.
Well, it's actually, that's Mr. Horsepower. There's a funny story behind that.
I'm ready.
Well, you don't see it in Spinal Tap, but, Spinal Tap's ongoing appearances, Nigel Tufnell had a special guitar made with the Mr. Horsepower insignia on it. So I thought, oh, there's a nice little connection there.
Huh.
It's not in the movie, but you can look it up. You can look up Nigel Tufnell, Mr. Horsepower guitar. It's quite a creation. Very Nigel Tufnell.
Huh.
Instead of going up to 11, it's got like 16 pickups on it or something. It's like this monstrosity. But anyway, I digress.
Well, the bass player had that dual bass, which was kind of over the top.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen dual guitars
real
before,
bass. That
never
was
a dual
awesome.
bass.
Just in case.
Oh, I've seen dual
Yeah.
bass. I've seen the dual bass in concert. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's brilliant that Fat Bottom Girl. Oh, no, it's not Fat. I'm thinking of Queen, but what is that song?
Big
Big
Bottom?
Bottom.
Big Bottom.
Big Bottom.
And I noticed it for the first time. They're all playing bass. There's no guitar in that song. It's just got that low thudding sound, and it works. It's like it might be funny.
Well, we're
but
talking
they're
actors,
committed to the music.
but let's
That's
talk.
why-
We need to talk
okay.
about it. The songs are pretty good. They're not
They are.
stupid.
No,
They're-
they're perfect.
They're perfectly stupid. That's what's so
Yeah.
amazing, and that's
Yeah.
a big reason why. Well, first of all, Michael McKean is my number one, even though Pee Wee is life. Pee Wee's part of me, whatever. But Michael McKean's performance, all of them, the fact that they're singing, playing, they wrote these songs that are just dumb enough to where you're like, Silo is rising, like all their stupid sexual.
No, the lyrics are hilariously
hilarious.
dumb.
Rock
But
and
rock
Roll Creation
and roll
is
creation
perfectly
sounds
dumb.
good. Stonehenge and rock and roll creation
Yeah.
sound good.
Stonehenge
They sound good.
Yeah,
great.
Stonehenge is great.
They
Yeah.
I love that they actually shine a light on Led Zeppelin's bullshit. They're just like, yeah, you and your
Yeah.
druid bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is what
Well,
they deserve.
Yeah.
When
And-
Burton mentioned I'm sorry. I'm so excited,
No.
Roseanne. You
I
talk.
get it. No, no. Who is
Well,
it?
no.
I'm just
What
saying,
you?
Michael
well, you
McKean,
triggered
all
me.
of it for sure.
Yeah.
Go.
But that
That's
thing that,
the-
well, Burton, the whole thing with Nigel playing the guitar with the violin. I mean, that was a direct nod to Jimmy Page, who would play with a bow. You'd see him on stage with a big bow, going up and down with his low-strung guitar, as only Jimmy Page can do, making his god-awful noise that he always seemed to pull off. But I think
the
with the
fact
music,
that they do that without seeming over the top is amazing.
well, and they
like,
make
make-
it their
with-
own. Yeah, I think it's the
Right.
commitment. Yeah.
Right.
And just like with the songs, well, we're getting into it here.
yeah. Go.
Well, no, but just how keen they are to the different eras. So when you listen to listen to
what?
Yeah. Not only that,
they nail it.
Amazing. Yeah.
not only that, Rob Reiner, and when Rob Reiner could make a movie, they film it perfectly. So it doesn't look like the stupid fake creations you see today. It looks like decent found footage.
Yeah,
sure.
So when they have stop, look, and listen,
Yeah.
you know what I want. Give me some money.
Okay, and for the record, even though Christopher Guest is doing hilarious work in each one of them, Michael McKean is so deeply rooted in that character. He just comes across as that guy every single time. And his hair gets more and more fucking stupid, and it's amazing.
No, he's awesome.
He is undoubtedly.
Let's let
just-
Joe chime in.
Yeah,
Since Joe,
sorry.
what do you got in terms of favorite performances? Is it, well, go for it.
I mean, it is challenging because they're all three such different movies, but I really like Pee Wee Herman. I think I mean, as good as all the other performances are, I kind of ask, like, could you theoretically slot in another actor there and would it work?
No, yeah.
And you 100%, at least for Pee Wee's Big Adventure, the answer is no. He is that character.
But one of the
So-
auditionees for Raising Arizona was Kevin Costner, who was bummed he didn't get the part. So can you imagine Kevin Costner in that part?
Did I know that? I didn't.
It's been coming up. It's been coming up as of late.
Huh. Okay, I didn't know that.
I read
Listen
it
to-
years ago.
yeah,
I read
okay.
it back in when
I-
I had Premiere Magazine.
I just found out about it myself in the last
Yeah.
week, and a
Yeah.
couple of guys were talking about how, he sounds an awful lot like a Kevin Costner type character, Nicolas Cage, and then they brought up the fact that I think he had auditioned 3 times for H.I. McDonough, Kevin Costner, so he was in the running.
Yeah.
Yeah, but thank goodness.
Well, who knows? I mean,
well, no, I'd be curious.
Not,
yeah, I'd be curious to see what he would do, because we didn't necessarily expect a lot from Nick Cage. I mean, certainly from his subsequent work, he surprises us.
Anyone who didn't like Valley Girl maybe didn't.
Oh, well, no.
Ken wasn't aware of
We got to
Valley
talk
Girl.
about
He was
Valley
busy.
Girl.
He was too busy eating
I never saw Valley Girl.
Jack in the
We gotta
Box,
talk
or not
about
Jack in
that
the
movie.
Box, Cracker Jacks at Smokey and the Bandit. Yeah! Ken, at some point we're gonna do Smokey and the Bandit. I promise you.
All right. Okay. There we go.
That'd be awesome. It would be. I mean,
The Smokey and the Bandit trilogy.
don't go that far.
But I think you're right about Pee-wee. He is almost like, jazz or something, like this American, perfectly, uniquely American creation that couldn't exist without like the perfect barometric pressure of culture before and after. And I think not only in this movie, but just as like an American comedian and icon, I think he's irreplaceable.
Yeah.
So I think, to me, I guess I agree. I mean, I love Michael McKean in these three, but I just think Pee-wee's so much bigger than just these three movies in a way. So maybe that's how I think of it.
I agree.
And
I
also,
agree.
like,
But
just the
in terms of just sheer like commitment, I'd say Michael McKean is equal to Pee-wee. Like
they're both creating alternate personas.
I mean, it's hard to take away from Harry Shearer and
for sure, and Christopher Guest.
Because they're. But Michael McKean has a force of energy that the more I watch the film, the more I think, yeah, he should have. If the '80s were a sensible time and we weren't adulating such horseshit as Gandhi and On Golden Pond, in a stronger, like, again, that was the old days, right? So those bullshit movies that nobody really liked. That's always been the case with the Oscars. But honestly, Michael McKean deserved Best Actor. If Hollywood had any idea of like looking into the future in a truly progressive performance, it's Michael McKean. They just ignored that film entirely. Like, nobody knew what to make of it. I remember it because I wanted to see it. I remember I was 13, 14. I was starting to, I was really watching David Letterman a lot. So I was getting hip to the whole comedy thing at SCTV and all the things that we were watching. So I knew it was coming and I wanted to see it. Of course, it just came in just like Pee-wee's Big Adventure, just came and went. So I didn't get it. I didn't see it till 1989, honestly, when I went to college and all the guys in the dorms were raving about it. So, and again, at that point, I knew every joke coming. I heard the music. Claude sent me the tape, and he told me about every scene. So, no, it's just the worst way to watch a comedy. Worse than getting spoiled on, say, The Sixth Sense or something. I think comedies are worse because immediately you picture how funny something's going to be. And if it's not as funny as you think about it, like you can imagine it. I can imagine pretty funny, So.
Well, and I think it's another reason why these three films are, to me, the best, because even if you know the joke, and I know you're saying this about Spinal Tap, but especially these three performances and all the supporting performances make it so it's not just about jokes.
Yeah.
And I do think that the value is, especially in Michael McKean, is his investment and the fact that he's performing at this level where I'm like, he's really heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And he
turns funny, like depressing situations funny, but at the same time they still feel depressing.
Yes. Yes.
I couldn't say that, but if I wasn't so heavily sedated,
right.
It's no different than all the 37 other people who've been in the band.
Right. Or again, now there's too much fucking perspective. Yeah. That means nothing.
And then
I love that half of his lines are nonsense.
45-year-old headbanging bullshit, and they're talking about Saucy Jack. It's really like depressing as hell, but still funny. And Saucy Jack's an awful lot like Mr. Grinch. You're a saucy one, or you're a haughty one.
Well, it could so easily just be, and I think each one of these performances, each one of these movies, just about self-deception. But again, just the huge disappointment that comes with deceiving oneself and failing, because I think is amazing.
Yeah. Well,
Pee-wee less so. He wins.
Yeah, but again,
Well,
the victories.
I have a quick question.
Here's the main thing. Before you ask the question, Ken, the main thing about each film is the victories are earned, which doesn't happen. Forget comedies; it just doesn't happen in mainstream films much, where you have earned. So the earned victories are again Raising Arizona's final line is a side splitter because the victory is earned.
Sure.
You know, and it's a great closing line, like so. Perfect. Like, what a funny closing line, which most movies just, even then, don't have. I mean, I say even then because now movies are just piles of horse shit every time. And so now it's like, these are a time when things were well written and the victories were earned. Anyway, go for it, Ken. What's your question?
Well, I'll ask the question in a second. I'm going to just make a comment, which I will say in Pee-wee's Big Adventure, the last big chase, I will say that I was getting a little unimpressed with the big chase, like going through who's that?
Godzilla?
Godzilla.
You just missed the point every time. You just missed the point. That's what's so freaking funny about it. It's a travelogue through Hollywood and a pastiche. And a pastiche of studio.
Tarzan, Godzilla,
the artifice of all of it, Twisted Sister, everything, the Hollywood experience,
the beach dance movie.
Well,
yes,
right. But at some point, like they all have to hit them. They all have to be like home runs, because if it's not a home run, that's like, okay, we're doing it. We're in the middle of it. So the Tarzan, great, he's on the vine, that's fantastic. But just driving through the set of Godzilla and the little volcanoes going off, it's like. Okay, so you're still chasing. I was not overly impressed with the commentary. But my question is,
sometimes I hate you, Ken. You know that? Sometimes I fucking hate you.
You really feel Caputi.
You're just like missing the point of the whole thing. Well, the volcanoes. Who's even thinking the volcanoes? You are. I don't know. I can't quite agree with those volcanoes.
Hey, I'm just watching the movie, right? It has to hit me. I wasn't impressed. It just
if there's one thing I can't stand is a fake volcano.
No, it's a chase.
The chase through Hollywood. The chase through the American experience.
Ken, what's your question? What's the question?
Let him ask the question.
Yes.
And you're probably, I know this is a silly question, but I'm curious. On Spinal Tap, I feel that Michael McKean was the heart of the movie, was in almost every scene. Well, the majority of the scenes. And yet Christopher Guest got top billing. Any reason why Christopher Guest gets top billing?
Maybe he did the most writing. Maybe they didn't have a script. So it's hard. Maybe it's just the sort of affable nature of Michael McKean, who should be a bigger, more important star. This is a total sidebar, whatever, but I didn't like his role in Better Call Saul. I just thought it was really contrived, and yet he was amazing in it. He has this sort of electricity. He's allergic to electricity. He has this sort of psychosis. And I thought nothing but Hollywood contrivance. And yet, brilliant. Still a brilliant actor making the most out of what it was a stupid TV writer's probably read about it somewhere in a Reader's Digest and said, oh, that's going to be my character. But Michael McKean is a great, great actor who's never gotten his due. So there's that. I don't know. I just feel like the guy's extremely talented and probably not that big of an ego, because he is the lead. It is the main character.
Right.
So I don't know. I couldn't tell you why Christopher Guest at that point, because Christopher Guest was not a name. Like none of them were names until that movie. Yeah. Well, no, Michael McKean was the biggest name because he had Laverne and Shirley.
Right. That's what I knew him from. Because I'd never seen it.
And that's to his shame, because I hate that stupid show.
And he's not funny.
No, he's not funny. He's just.
I think he's funny. I think as far as the Lenny and Squiggy, sort of.
They are typical sitcom irritants. Hello. Okay.
That was Squiggy.
Okay. Lenny, he never got much of a chance. I remember he sang that "You've Got That Look in Your Eye" with Penny Marshall. I thought that was pretty good. I always crack up when the stars of Happy Days and all that would start singing. Like, let's get Jim Nabors to sing one of his top hits. You know,
Yeah, I was gonna
so
say.
Michael McKean's the biggest surprise, considering he did come from Laverne and Shirley. You know, like, oh, he's actually super funny and super
But that
talented.
kind of makes me love him even more. Just like, God, that dude's just doing jobs, you know, and making.
Well,
of
there
it
were
when
a
he
ton
can.
of what I would call cameos. Maybe they weren't. But
yeah, but
what
nobody
I
was
would
a
call
star
cameos
then.
in. Oh, I'm like,
Nobody,
boy, there's a lot of people
nearly,
in there.
you know, Dana Carvey, Billy Crystal. Billy Crystal was known from Soap, but he wasn't.
Nobody
he
knew Dana Carvey yet.
There was
Yeah,
the Paul guy, the Paul musician from
yeah,
Letterman.
yeah. Paul
Howard
Schaefer,
Hessman.
but
Schaefer.
Paul Schaefer was not a
Yeah.
known quantity. David Letterman, sure, but it's not like anybody knew who he was in 1984.
Fran Drescher.
Nobody
Yeah.
really knew Fran Drescher.
She was.
Yeah.
She didn't hit it big till after Christopher Guest's movie, the Hollywood, The Big Picture. She has a big part in that.
And I
too.
guess that makes it even more funny.
She was in Saturday Night
had all
Fever,
these
but she's
people
in
in
it
it,
for
you
like
know.
2 seconds.
Yeah.
Wait, she was in Ragtime. Sorry.
Oh, well, yeah, but she was just working New York
I know.
actress. You know.
I get it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
she was.
Ken and Alex, did you say your favorite of the three favorite
No.
performances?
No.
I was curious. Just
Well,
curious.
we've gotten on a few sidetracks here.
Yeah.
So
You know
Alex,
me. I like
I'm
to
sorry, yes,
get it
what?
back.
keep it back in focus.
I
Good
do.
editor, good English teacher. Keep it
Good.
and teacher,
Okay.
making sure every little student gets their due.
It's a fact.
All right, Alex.
I'm sorry?
I still can't get over the hairdo. It's like I'm talking to Prince fucking Valiant.
Yeah, deal with it, fascist. Okay?
Sorry, Bert. I apologize for all the
Wife likes it.
cussing tonight. Saucy Jack. That's my name.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right. Go, Alex.
Nicolas Cage. Hands down. Hands down. I mean, and that is the performance that spoiled it for me, because Nicolas Cage has never topped it for me. I mean, it's so early in his career, but it was one of the most complete performances. And the more I watch it, the more I realize how critical his character is. You can't take him out of that movie. I mean, he is the lead, he's the narrator, but he's so crucial. And he gets to do something that not a lot of Coen brother characters, lead characters, get to do. They don't get to break out of that spiral. He does. Llewyn Davis will forever be Llewyn Davis, in that downward spiral. The dude will always be the dude, even though I think he enjoys being in that rut. Even someone like Sheriff Tom Bell, who just seems so caught up in the past. I mean, this is a very rare character, in that he has that self-awareness, and he's got the biggest change.
Yeah.
He has, I mean, from the very get-go, he really does. Even from the get-go, he's a recidivist. He's a repeat offender, but he's got a heart of gold. He's just somebody that doesn't really know. And it's funny that, I think he's one of those, he's become so institutionalized. That's his family. And then he tries to become part of that, the American dream. And who are his examples? Ed, Dot and Ed. I mean,
Glenn.
Or Glenn. I'm sorry, Glenn.
Yeah,
and it's so funny. And really, one of the scenes that I noticed today, when you realize what a good person he is when they're heading back after slugging Glenn in the face. And Holly Hunter, we finally go off and meet some decent folk, and you go and break his nose. That ain't funny. His kids seem to think it was funny. But when he says he was provoking me, well, what did he say? And just that look he gives her, and he doesn't tell her out of respect.
Yeah.
What a great guy.
Yeah.
But that idea that he, what am I good at? Well, here's a convenience store. This is what I'm good at.
Yeah.
He's actually good at loving Holly Hunter in this.
Yeah.
He is.
Like the fact that he constantly tries to make her feel better when she,
Absolutely.
just how he treats. I do love that about
he
him.
He never raises his voice to her.
And honestly, I'm not just saying
ever.
this. I'm not just saying this, Alex. I clued into that scene on this viewing too. I thought, it really is an interesting scene with Nicolas Cage's eye acting. His little sideward glances and all that.
And that's pure Chuck Jones in many ways. I mean, just all those great. Nicolas Cage really nailed it with this character.
Yeah, he did.
Again, and I look, and I've seen some performances that I can enjoy, but nothing on the level of H.I. McDonough. And he must have been all of 25 years old.
Yeah.
Pretty darn good for somebody that age, just to really fill the shoes of that character.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and I realized too that beautiful scene when they're on their way to get Nathan Jr. and he tries to console Ed, and she gives that speech about, I don't care about anything. I just want Nathan Jr. and I don't want to be with you anymore.
Yeah.
That's a heartbreaking scene.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, what a gut punch. And you're really rooting for HI always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Ken, did you get your favorite in? Did we ask Ken? Uh-oh. You're mute again.
It was Charlie Chaplin. It was the mime.
Ken, you with us?
Hold on.
Your hate silenced him.
All that coarse language.
Yes. Joe, did you got your favorite in, right, Joe?
Yeah.
Pee-wee.
Yes, Pee-wee. All right. Ken said Pee-wee. All right.
Okay, Pee-wee.
No. Ken, we can't hear you. What? Bert, IT Tech, help him out.
I don't know how to help him.
A nice roadie too.
I've been saying that ever since I met him.
I didn't hear the comment.
There you are.
Okay.
Still can't hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear
For the
you.
record, I have not changed a single thing a single time. It's not
Crazy.
me.
Well, that's machines for you.
Anyway,
Okay, well, let's.
I said
Let's.
no. I did Pee-wee earlier on.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go around the room and talk about our favorite supporting characters. You get three. You get to pick three, everybody. Roseanne Caputi, you're three from each movie. Best supporting character.
Okay. Bruno Kirby.
Oh, yeah.
For
Spinal Tap.
From Spinal Tap. I would say almost John Goodman doesn't feel like a supporting character, but I continue to just find his menace when he really taps into it with the Coen brothers, just the best. So definitely him. And probably Simone.
Hey, Alex will know this. Is Diane Salinger related to the J.D. Salinger, or does it?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it's spelled different. I think she's
Okay, because she looks like Meredith Salinger, so I just wondered, or she
a little.
She
No,
looks
she
like
does,
she could be
yeah, but
related. So I just
don't know
wondered.
if she is.
All right.
So to me, Simone.
All right.
Good
Au revoir, Pee-wee. Au revoir, Simone. The best. Nothing better.
All right,
Okay.
Joe Field. Top three in each film.
Okay. I would have to say I like in Raising Arizona. I think it's hard. I think that I think John Goodman is funny, and provides an interesting kind of like counterbalance for like, oh yeah, this is how HI could go. Like this is the direction that he could possibly end up in.
I'm going to interrupt you real quick. When I was about your age, actually younger, when I was 17, I thought William Forsythe was the funniest. I grew to respect John Goodman, but William Forsythe, let's just give him some due. He's really good.
For sure.
Sorry, Joe.
Yeah,
Continue.
that's fine. So yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of why I like that character playing off of Nicolas Cage and kind of trying to be that kind of interesting influence in his life that's very much counterbalanced with Holly Hunter.
The great tension in that scene. Welcome home, son. Where's he been?
No, he's got it out for Holly Hunter.
Yeah, immediately.
He's almost gay
that.
He's like almost gay for Nicolas Cage. So it's
for sure.
So it's like, man, he is just the biggest jerk to Holly Hunter. And she's the biggest threat to him.
Yeah.
You know,
That's a really interesting dynamic, made super interesting by his like, what the shits with him?
I know. And what you need is dip tap. You know, so
Right.
so he's always basically the mediator between the two.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go on, Joe. Spinal
Yeah.
Tap.
For Spinal Tap, I personally like their manager.
Yeah, Tony Hendra, awesome. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think that just like being able to play off like things not going well as the optimal is like he does it really well. Of
Yeah.
like, oh no, this is perfect. This is the way we almost wanted it all along. Like, and it's like, no, it isn't. It's like
Not a big college town.
the whole album is just black. Like,
don't you love his ass kissing to Howard Hessman?
Best. Hey, how are you, laddie?
Laddie?
Liam.
Yeah, so I think that his work makes it even funnier. And then subsequently when he leaves the film, how much things go further downhill for the band after that, which is like, wow, okay, so he was actually, I mean, doing something at least.
Just real quick, got to give it up to June Chadwick, who I don't know was in anything else. She immediately went from Spinal Tap to the TV show V, which is the visit. So the sci-fi TV show V, she was so I don't know what happened to her, but she's amazing. But she, she's no Tony Hendra, but she's still really funny. An Australian Nightmare.
Australian Nightmare, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and then for Pee-wee's Big Adventure, I would say I feel like I like Dottie in it a lot because I think that she kind of straddles an interesting line of like being a part of this adult but child world, but actually being more of an adult. Like she never entirely is in one camp or the other, and I think that part of why Pee-wee's Big Adventure kind of works in a weird, interesting way is that it is supposed to mimic aspects of reality,
right?
In parts, and I think that her being like, "Won't you take me to a movie?" or anything like that, like, I mean,
just her unrequited crush on
is
him.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, her shyness at approaching the subject is really funny. Yeah, I totally agree.
Good job.
So yeah, I think those are my favorite supporting actors.
Yep. Bert, haven't talked to you in a while. How you doing?
I'm good.
So 3 supporting actors that you like in each, or one of each.
Well, for Spinal Tap, I would have to say Shearer because I laughed every time I saw him.
Well, he's a lead, but anyway, sure.
Oh, well, he's not Lenny. And then on Pee-wee, it's like I was initially going to say Dottie because, that this unrequited love, I don't know, just this admiration or, crush on Pee-wee was just kind of funny. And he was oblivious. And but
not only oblivious,
like avoiding and terrified,
irritated and angry about it.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. It's a really bad connection.
It's got really bad.
No, he's not oblivious at all. He's actually sort of disdainful.
But I still laugh at Large Marge, so that was good. But she was just a super bit part.
Yeah, we can dig into the bit parts in each.
Yeah, but and then you already said the line, the dip-tet line.
Yeah,
and that was the guy who, he's just kind of this little yappy dog following what's his name?
Gale and Evel.
John
Gale.
Goodman. Yeah, he's following.
So you like John
Forsythe?
So you're John Forsythe?
William.
I'm sorry, William Forsythe is who you're saying? Yeah.
He's just kind of following like the dog, the character, the big dog with the yappy dog following after him.
He's hilarious. They're on the floor like you said, Gale.
Yeah. Don't say my name.
Not even
Yeah.
code names.
Y'all hear
He's
that?
going to any funny shapes at all?
Yeah, no, William Forsythe definitely made a mark on that film. He like Nicolas Cage, never to achieve that greatness again,
No,
unfortunately.
that's the sad thing.
Yeah, he was
Yeah,
Al
what
Capone
happened?
on the Untouchables TV show.
He was Flat
know.
Top and Dick Tracy. I mean, that was
Yeah.
really probably
Dick
the
Tracy.
biggest. Yeah, but before that, Cockeye and Once Upon a Time in America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, no, he was. Yeah, what happened to that greatness? What happened to that potential?
Must have been the character.
I think
Yeah.
so, but he does Deuce
He
Bigelow.
nailed
Come
it, though.
on.
He nailed it. Ken, thoughts? Favorites? Can we hear you?
Yeah. Can you hear me? Am I on?
We can hear you.
You are.
So yeah, I mean, certainly I think John Goodman now, and maybe even he deserves like Harry Shearer, maybe more than just the
Supporting. Yeah.
what do you call it? The
Supporting
supporting actor.
player.
He is among the leads, but he is just great. I mean,
Oh, you lost him, Gino. Gino, it's just.
so I love him.
You're gonna have to back
I
up.
will say for Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
You froze, Ken. You're gonna have to back up. You were talking about John Goodman.
Okay.
So we missed Spinal Tap or something. We missed one of your second.
Okay, have we finished John Goodman?
Start over.
Yeah, I would just say that for now I'm missing. I'm blanking on the names. For what's the first movie I just did? Give me the name.
John Goodman.
Not yeah, but the movie. What's the movie?
Raising Arizona.
Raising Arizona. So Raising Arizona, I would have to say it's John Goodman. He just sort of dominates. I mean, he's fully present in every scene. He exudes in the scenes he's in. So I got to give it to him. He's even like not fully a supporting player. He's one of the main players, but I just got to give it to him. And then for Pee-wee's Big Adventure, this is a small part, but the owner of the magic shop. I just love his enthusiasm.
Mario.
Box for Pee-wee.
Right, yeah, get the box. Yeah. So I just thought he did a great job with that little bit. He just really did a great job. And then for Spinal Tap, I'd have to. I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, certainly great little bits here and there, but I'll give it. Got to give June Chadwick, her due. I mean, it's sort of like her part of the girlfriend that breaks apart the band or is the rift in the band. I mean, that's just the meaty part. And so yeah, I'll give her that one.
But it's kind of not a cliche, but we all know the pattern, right? I mean, it is the girlfriend who breaks up the band, but she does an exceptionally great job. I love like the acting when the camera pans on her when he says Nigel and Janine are a lot alike. She's going, yeah. And you can see the hatred in her eyes when she's even being compared to him. So
also, when she's handing out that hilarious effing schedule.
Yeah. And the way Michael McKean's constantly buttering up how great it all is.
Right, for sure. And Nigel all the way at the end and her reaction to it. Really fast before Alec. I think you're right, Ken, about John Goodman really being a lead. So just really fast. I do think then this time around, for me, it's Trey Wilson, who I just think is like phenomenal in this movie and true. Like his scenes, almost every time he's in them, I laugh just because of him. Yeah. I think he's amazing. Anyway, because I'm just like, John Goodman almost feels like cheating. He basically is the flip side of Nicolas Cage in that movie. Yeah, I would say even more than Holly Hunter. So, yeah.
Well,
anyway.
they're kind of there's a similar dynamic.
There is. It's interesting
between Nigel and David St. Hubbins and Janine, and then Holly Hunter and John Goodman and High.
And
so
for sure,
you feel that sort of.
So and Daly and Pee-wee and the bike. So right. I feel like it's all there. It's who are we? This is who my image as a man. This is me as a child. a man. This is my shot at actually becoming that thing. And I'm too afraid in some ways to actually attain it. I think there's a lot of interesting things, honestly, about masculinity in these three movies.
Oh, do tell. Go.
I'm not going to tell.
Go. No, we got to do it. Go. So,
sorry, Bert. No, fuck off. Go ahead, Alex. You're supporting.
All right, Alex.
Deserve my talk about masculinity.
Yeah.
For Spinal Tap, Paul Benedict.
Oh, you took mine.
I didn't take yours.
You took mine.
I know all about that, but then watching him, and every time you watch that scene, that's a great example of good comedy. you leave your audience wanting more. It's like he just, the lead up to your favorite line, God, I'm just as God made me, sir. And those glasses
playing so well off of Tony Hendra.
Yeah.
And again, there's no script. So these guys are just outlining this and they're just riffing. And Paul Benedict, here's the deal. Like Michael McKean. So he's on the Jeffersons, right? He's on Sesame Street. He's on all these things, and then he's always showing up. And he showed, like, again, as a kid or teenager, or no, as a grown ass high school or college student, seeing it, going, man, I never realized how funny that guy was. With the glasses, the thick glasses.
The under his breath gay comments. You're all really
twisted fruit.
Beautiful. The fact that he said, "Don't tempt me."
Yeah, don't tempt me. Yeah, no, he's. And Tony Hender's line is so funny because he's so committed to his poisonous anger. It's so funny. And what a bully he is to everybody beneath them, except for, but even his hate, sorry to go all riffing on Tony Hendra, but his hatred for Patrick McNee is hilarious. Fucking toaster. He's so mad about everything. Anyway, sorry. Tony Hendra is awesome. But all right, who's left? Roseanne, have you had your shot?
No, I've only mentioned one movie. I mentioned one movie, Spinal Tap.
Yes.
Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Mark Holton. There, I said it. Okay, and then for Raising Arizona, it's going to be Tex Cobb.
I was wondering somebody's going to give him some love.
Tex Cobb, because he is critical to the story, and he's, when he gets that one great scene with Trey Wilson.
Yeah.
I mean, and you see what a menace he is. I mean, where he really brings more than John Goodman. I love John Goodman. Don't get me wrong, but it's what, it takes a serious tone. I mean, come on. Lenny Smalls is just the flip side of Anton Chigurh. They're basically the same kind of creature, and it is one of those, it's like, are we looking at magic realism or are we looking at fantasy? I mean, because it's like, even Anton Chigurh has that quality about, you saw him and you're still alive, and that great scene when he appears at the end and Ed sees him, and Nicolas Cage, you see him too. No, but that, how steeped in literature those two guys are, that they come up with this. I mean, this is right out of like Shakespeare or Greek tragedy. Opening Pandora's box and all the evils of the world, and how he unleashes this force that he has to deal with.
Well, here's the thing. Randall Tex Cobb was a character in the 80s. Like he did the talk shows rounds and he's a boxer and all that. But I don't think he was ever as amazing. Like he was in Uncommon Valor and he was fine.
Yeah.
But you look at him in Raising Arizona, and it's such, like, I wonder who directed him. Was it the Coens or was it him? Because
I don't know.
He's drooling, the nose acting, the voice acting, that through the nose, the way he talks, it's just an amazing performance. And every time I watch it, I'm always sort of marveling at. He was never this good. This is it's like a terrific performance from a boxer.
No, but I think one of the Coens put it best. It's like, he was more really a force of nature. I don't think I'd rush headlong into working with him again. I wouldn't call him an actor as much as I'd call him a force of nature, and he was.
But his deliveries of fair price, like that, it's all chilling. It's all really chilling, and I'm like,
underplayed.
Did they direct it or did he?
I don't know, because think about most amateur actors playing that kind of role. They're gonna, the twisting, fair price. No,
Yeah.
that's what's frightening is how calm he is.
Yeah.
Even when he's beating up HI. You know? Now, here's the question. You know, that moment when he's got HI in the bear hug and HI is clawing away and he pulls back the armor and he sees the Mr. Horsepower tattoo and he stops. And I know you can look at it as a sight gag, but they have that moment, you know, and then when he starts to beat him some more, it's like he's almost apologizing. He's like, I didn't, he's getting beat up. And then even when he reveals that he has the pin, it's never ha ha ha. It's, I'm sorry. I mean,
well, they were soulmates, right? They were brothers they
some
were
kind of fraternity.
Cosmic
you know,
brothers.
We never know about where Nicolas Cage came from. And, you know, I myself fetched a price. You know, well, as a pup myself, I'll fetch $30,000. That's 1954, $30,000.
Well, again, it does beg the question: how much is he just a manifestation of Nicolas Cage?
That's the beauty, I think, of what the Coen brothers can do.
For sure, you know, and for such a movie that, I mean, in a way, is really is evocative. Like there's a bunch of different ways you could read Tex Cobb, I think, in terms of Nicolas Cage and their relationship. Anyway.
So that's it, Gino. Move on.
Well, you got Paul Benedict. I'm gonna say, so Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Boy, there's all sorts of levels of bit players. We don't have the time to go into that, but yeah, it's got to be Dottie, you know, or Chip.
What about Amazing Larry?
Yeah, I don't know. Jen Hooks. I mean, there's too many. There's too many to pick. But if I have to pick one, it's got to be Dottie. You know, I think Elizabeth Daly does a great job of committing to the lunacy and grounding it, as Joe said. And then what's the other film? So it was Dottie, Pee-wee, Raising Arizona. Yeah, it's John Goodman for sure. But if we're gonna go down to the other, it's William Forsythe, and then the other bit players. You know, give it up for Sam McMurray.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's terrific, and I had seen him on Moonlighting before Raising Arizona. So it was always just Raising Arizona is a revelation of those guys always cast, and they do it all the time. And I've mentioned it on other previous podcasts, but they grab these TV actors or people you've seen on TV or theater or whatever who can really strut, and you wouldn't know it if it wasn't for them, you know. And Sam McMurray's hilarious. I mean, hilarious. I posted the GIF of him. Watch yourself, cut yourself, Mordecai. I mean, that's such a. I mean, the setup is coming, and it's so funny. That was another one of those huge laughs when I first saw it.
Well, just the subtle racism.
Not exactly subtle.
Well, Negro kid born with
his heart on the outside.
Someone ought to sell tickets.
Come on,
I'd buy one.
Hit the deck, boy.
All right, so I've said my piece. One thing I want to talk about, I don't know if you gentlemen, I mean, I'm always talking about music. We won't really go into it. No time, even though all three have great scores, especially, I mean, Spinal Tap obviously has great music, great funny music, but I rarely talk about editing. But I will say Spinal Tap is a marvel of editing. Did anybody notice that? If you don't want to talk about it, forget it. But Bert, did you notice the editing in Spinal Tap? Just how well edited it is?
No.
Ken, you're an editor. How would you rank the editing in Spinal Tap? Oh, for God's sake, Ken.
For the love of Pete.
You're silent again, Ken.
Ken, we cannot hear
There's
you.
There's no sound. Yeah.
And now you froze.
Now?
Yes.
Okay, now we can hear you.
Here we go.
Oh, you
Oh,
so
yeah.
you must have a short in your mic. No, we can't hear you again.
It can't be.
You must have a short in your mic, Ken. It's all I can figure.
But I mean, it's this. There's no cord.
No, and the mic in your computer, there must be some sort of short. It's going in and out.
Okay, but you can hear me.
Now I can.
Okay, you can't hear me now.
I can.
We can.
We can. Okay, editing, Ken. Editing.
Okay, so I want to pivot a little bit. So I I wasn't blown away by the editing per se, but the shot setup. So that's the thing with this mockumentary is you've got to pack a lot of story inside the story. So where the cameras were positioned, there's a lot of three-dimensionality where they would comment on one thing in the foreground and then there'd be a commentary on it in the background. So where he would be able to place the cameras, which of course you have a lot more flexibility in a fake film than in a real documentary. So he had that benefit of being able to put the cameras where he wanted. But that's what I thought was really good, is conveying those messages or that subtext through how the shots were set up. And that I thought was really good.
Well, it wasn't scripted, and I have the special edition DVD, and so you see the film in its entirety or with all the cut scenes, and they cut a lot out, like hours of footage. And I think it's a marvel of editing because they had all this footage that they improvised, and the editor has a huge role in making it one of the funniest films of all time. Because
so who was responsible? Because they list 2 editors.
I'm not sure.
Movie.
I'm not
Kent
sure.
Beda and Kim Seacrest.
I'm not sure who was.
Okay.
They're both responsible. They waded through all this improvised comedy and turned it into a crackerjack, like just tight comedy that you'd never guess. So like Bruno Kirby, he has much more to do in the film. But they edited him down to the perfect role. So.
So when you saw the whole thing, how much? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So how long was the full running time?
Oh, I like any film that just shooting. But they cut more scenes for the viewer just to enjoy. But it was like an hour's worth. It's like 45 minutes worth of unedited footage, not unedited, but sort of crafted outtakes. So there's lots more to that film, and it's not that good. It's not that funny. So the stuff you see isn't that funny. So I think it's extremely well edited film. And I think Pee-wee's Big. I think all three films are extremely well edited.
Well,
I think comedy has to be well edited.
Sure.
I think it's so easy to go wrong, to make a scene last too long, to make the joke, exhausting, things like this. I think editing is key. And these 3 are 3 very streamlined, perfectly, I think, edited films.
Yeah.
Well, there's an energy in Raising Arizona that I don't think you've seen in other movies. You know, and it has the potential to go at breakneck speed, which can become very exhausting in any kind of movie. But they just seem to know when to pull it back, when to hit us with a punchline, and let us move on to the next beat or the next scene. Let us catch our breath. And I think a lot of credit to, speaking of people that have never performed as well since, is Barry Sonnenfeld, who did the camera work. I mean, it was just like that is some of the most brilliant. And I think you could see a lot of the spirit of Sam Raimi in those shots.
Yeah.
But I think he does a great job. That camera becomes almost a character in itself. The way it just moves through that. And it's just really, that movie just, I don't know why. I still get goosebumps watching it
I still marvel at the steady cam going above the car and up the ladder.
Yeah.
And I know there's a cut point where they go through the curtains, but it's still a really, really well done sequence,
It was right out of Sam Raimi. Yeah. Or Evil Dead. Yeah. And there was, and I think they did deliberately do an homage to Sam Raimi for that.
But it's beautiful. It still works really well.
It does
for the dream.
Well, and again, the way it punctuates the end of the dream and how he comes to, just the brilliance of that movie. And the music.
Moving to Tim Burton, I always hate dreams in movies because they're never very good. But the first dream that you like so much, Ken, it's low budget. It's obviously filmed in the LA hills, and it's supposed to be France. But fine, it's a dream, so it can be cheap because dreams make things weird and cheap. And then the shot, the overhead shot of the crowd dispersing as the alarm clock goes off.
Is great.
And that does feel like a dream. Like that feels how dreams are. It's everybody slowly wanders away. And I think, it's, there's a lot of creativity with the low budget in all 3 films for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and dreams are so important in Raising Arizona.
Yeah.
And Pee-wee.
No, that's what I mean. Just like, like Pee-wee.
Yeah, right.
The dreams are important because they advance the story. It's not like a gimmick.
No.
Right.
It helps to move the story along.
With Francis literally as the devil. Those clown surgeons freaked me out for my entire life.
I take it back, Alex. I was
You
being too hard.
should,
I was
'cause
being
I
too
would-
harsh on.
Yeah,
on
you
Punched you in the
are.
face.
yeah,
Patrick.
I'm being too hard on Francis. He's indelible for sure.
Yeah.
He's wonderful. Mark Fulton, and again, I wish I could have seen more of him. I mean, he's the kind of guy that would pop up here and there, and you wanted to see more of him. I mean, he'd pop up in Seinfeld. He was in a low budget John Wayne Gacy.
He was in Teen Wolf.
Yes, he was, as fatty or chubby.
Yeah.
Inappropriate. But he played John Wayne Gacy, one of the most notorious serial killers. Yeah.
Also, weirdly, in A League of Their Own.
Oh, that's
Who did he
right.
play? Who did he
The
play?
kid.
The older
yeah.
kid. Yeah.
You're
When they
gonna lose at the
yeah.
end of the movie.
I don't
Yeah,
remember.
he just comes on at the end.
Yeah.
So,
Anyway.
All right. So last question, everybody. Well, not before the recommendations. Last question. Who's the best director of the bunch? Joe Field.
Who's the best director of the bunch?
Rob Reiner, Tim Burton, or Joel and Ethan Coen. 3 all-stars.
I think in this case I'm going to say Tim Burton. I think that Pee-wee's Big Adventure is one of those movies that feels like I want to go back and reread the Odyssey just to see how well it tracks onto it. Or like you could compare it with like the Odyssey or the Grail Quest or anything else like that. But it's a comedy, and I mean I feel like being able to kind of balance the little gags with following this one strand through, like it could have been done in a very sloppy way, in a way that was completely and utterly nonsensical, but was able to, I don't know, I felt like it worked well. The pacing was good, and that for as zany and out there as it all is, like it still manages to maintain cohesion, which I think is why I would say that that's the best direction, is juggling so many of these weird random pieces.
I agree with that. I certainly was high on Tim Burton after Pee-wee's Big Adventure, and I never achieved that admiration again. Even with Batman. Yeah. Bert, who did you think did the best job directing?
Well, if it's based on the one I thought was the funniest, it'd be the Coen brothers.
I guess.
But Tim Burton was good too, But if I'm like, well, if I have to pick, it's like I bought this Arizona one a long time ago, and I've watched it a lot and quoted it a lot and laughed. And that's not always on the director, but some of that's just on the writer. But that's them. So there you go. Writers are them. So, not in it for any particular specific reason, but the Coen brothers.
Ken?
I would give the Coen brothers as well. I would say there's the movie is very dynamic. The shots are dynamic. The action portrayed within the camera feels more, came alive very strongly. Oh, am I okay?
I can hear you. We can hear you barely, but we can hear you. I can deal with that.
Okay. So I think that Raising Arizona is a very dynamic movie and a lot of action, and I mean certainly Pee-wee's Big Adventure has action, it's got this big adventure, but the Coens, I thought, really, like, each frame or each setup, each scene, they really pack a lot in with I just give them the credit for making that a dynamic movie.
Roseanne. I know you hate this question. Just abstain then. Abstain.
Okay.
Take the fifth.
Okay. Deal.
Alex, you gonna compare directors?
Wait a second, really fast.
No,
Yeah, I do want to say I think Rob Reiner did innovate something with those guys. They didn't have it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember any mockumentaries
The
before.
Ruddles.
The Ruddles.
Okay, I don't know what that is.
That's Monty
It's
Python.
the Monty Python.
Okay, okay. But I will say, I feel like Spinal Tap certainly popularized this, and it feels like maybe more, I don't know, a little bit something or other. And maybe I'm just trying to throw Rob Reiner a bone, because the truth is the Coen brothers are the ones that like truly fulfilled the promise of this film, where they started in such a like unbelievably vivid way and really grew as filmmakers, as opposed to the other two, which are nothing but crash and burn horse shit.
But be fair, Rob Reiner did Princess Bride after.
I know that, but he did it soon after, and then just to have such a terrific, I think, again, I think Ed Wood is a great Tim Burton film.
Sure.
You know, I think they made other fine films, but they're not the Coen brothers who continue to really grow.
I'm sorry. What about the John Cusack? What's the name of that one? The John Cusack.
Oh, the Sure Thing. That was before Spinal Tap.
Was that before?
Okay. I like Sure Thing.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah. That was before Princess. That was before Princess Bride. Sorry.
Yeah, it was after Spinal Tap.
Yeah, I think he was just proving he could do a studio movie in that case. Yeah, I think it was like, hey, what can you do with this? So
I think Tim Burton and Rob Reiner made other films that were fine, but they're not the Coen brothers.
Well, Princess Bride is better than fine.
For sure. Yeah. Yes, good. I think Ed Wood is better than fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm just saying it would have to be the Coen brothers, because what they created there is something that they built upon for the rest of their career thus far.
But you can still have a one-hit sorry. You can still have a one-hit you can still have a one-hit wonder who comes up with a catchy tune that's better than, so I think these two, in terms of one-hit wonders, if let's just say they were, Roseanne disappeared. Roseanne.
No, I'm listening.
You just were so flabbergasted by that joke. Or flat. Anyway. What I'm saying is you can have one-hit wonders that are transcend all time. So these three films, let's just say that nobody ever did anything again. These three films would be hard to compare. Like, who is destined for greatness? Because they're all.
No, I know. I'm just thinking because you had me abstain. And then I resented it.
I thought you were going to abstain because
I was going to abstain. I do, but then I was going to think about it. I'm just like, well, what if I looked at it in a different way? Is all. That's all. And then it turns out after this brief discussion that it was of no value. So abstain.
That's how Roseanne abstains.
All right, Alex, you get the last word on director.
The Coen brothers.
Yeah.
The Coen brothers, because something that Roseanne said, which is true, is like, this is what established their career. And, you can draw a line from everything that came after that and the way they were just able to improve and do something different. But I think it all comes back to Raising Arizona.
Sure.
And, what was shocking to me, what I think was so refreshing when I saw this in the theater, was these are the two guys that did Blood Simple, which was kind of a cruel, cynical little movie.
Not great either. I don't love it.
Well, and and that was one of those when they were, these critic darlings.
Got a lot of critical praise.
And you had to go, and people talked about it, and it was almost as if they're just forced to say it because you're supposed to like it because we said so. Yeah. And I went to see it, and it was like, what the hell did I just watch? I mean,
John Getz, right? John Getz.
John Getz, John Getz, and you've got these characters. None of them are likable. None of them, it's just a cruel little movie. And then you've got this movie, which is just, wow. This is, what was waiting to get out, it seems.
Well, Alex, I'm going to give you full credit. You're the bloke who pointed out that Fargo was very similar to Raising Arizona, and I hadn't thought of it. So Alex's supreme intelligence in 1996, he said,
more like Idiot Savant.
And I said, yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah. So then I started noticing the pattern in all their movies. What's The Man Who Wasn't There? That's all they've been ruminating on this theme for a while now.
There's some,
unleashing the thinking this simple plan will unleash hell. So,
well, Yeah.
Okay, second to last question before we get into the recommendations, which we've all pretty much recommended, so it's a useless question. Is anybody looking forward to the Spinal Tap sequel? Kendrick Wright.
I have never heard the word that there's a Spinal Tap.
It's coming out in November.
Just came out. Yeah.
It's coming out in November. Joe Field, full props. I'm giving a lot of props tonight. Joe pointed it out to me. I had no idea it was in the works either. And I'm usually up to the minute on this stuff, but I'm giving up. They're beating the love of cinema out of me, these Hollywood jerks. So
I don't know what to think. I mean, we all know that the sequels are rarely as approach the sort of quality of the first one. So I don't know what to think.
Wow.
Well, the Kids in the Hall reunion on Amazon or whatever.
Don't bring that.
That was enough to scare me away from reunions and reboots altogether. Yeah. Bert, any interest in you didn't even like Spinal Tap, so any interest in a sequel?
No, I did see that. I was looking at IMDb and there was a link to it at the bottom and it said, "This is Spinal Tap 2." And I'm like, oh, they made a second one. And I thought it was old. I thought, I missed that one too.
No, we haven't seen it yet. Joe, finder of this little nugget of information, what do you think? You're going to go?
I think it could be fun. Yeah, I would watch it. We'll see if it has any of the charm of the original or if they're able to sink back into their characters after so many years. But
I trust Michael McKean. He's the only one. Christopher, I don't know. Christopher Guest has been doing a lot of movies that are very funny. So even if it's as bad, not as bad, but as random or as uninspired as For Your Consideration still had really funny little gems. So it's possible,
But you're missing a really important component. You don't have Tony Hendra.
Yeah.
I mean, just from the discussion, how great what he brought. Hopefully they can find somebody worthy.
Well, even if they go the opposite way and get Eugene Levy or somebody from the troupe, John Michael Higgins, there's all sorts of guys they could get, or Catherine O'Hara. They could get people who are capable. It's just the question, do they have the focus to do it? And do they have the edge to do it? And the one person I trust the least now is Rob Reiner. I just don't think he has.
Maybe he's got one left in the tank. So let's hope.
I don't think so. He's lost his mind.
Yeah, no, you're right. He has.
So
maybe this will kind of bring it back a little.
Roseanne, looking forward to it? Gonna see it?
No.
You're not gonna see it?
No.
Ken? I already asked you. You were flabbergasted they're even making it. Are you gonna see it?
I'll look at reviews. If people say it's good, I'll check it out. But I'm not going to be a diehard about it.
You're not there opening day.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it. There's recommendations. That's stupid. What? Oh, well, I'll probably just like you, Ken. I will base it on the audience reaction. But you can't do that. You have to either go or not. And so it's the kind of movie I doubt I will run to see unless, but I don't trust reviews either. Like right now they're saying that Snow White is wildly creative. I'm like, sure, Disney.
Doubtful.
So I think you just want to sell tickets. So you paid off a bunch of critics, a bunch of dumb patsy critics to say Snow White's just great. Because let me tell you something, The Lion King, all that horse shit is terrible. So all their Disney live action, they're all uniformly terrible. Like, no, they haven't done a good one yet. So you're not gonna fake me out with all your positive reviews. So Blade Runner 2049. Oh, better than the original. Like, no, nobody's even talking about it anymore. Nobody except for millennial jerks. So no, they're not gonna supplant the classic. I doubt it. Spinal Tap has made a bunch of resurgences. In '92, they did Break Like the Wind. It never caught on. They released another album. They've had appearances. I just don't, their time is, in my gut, I feel like their time has come and gone. So.
And just the fact of that they were doing a has-been story when they were like still in their heyday as rock stars.
Right.
30 years later. and now they're old men. They've been locked up for 30 years now.
Well, don't you think they could, if they wanted to, just tap into Rolling Stones and just rip on them endlessly? For
the
that
geriatric tour,
or any of these old metal bands that are still,
but I don't know enough about that subject to know if there's
look at Iggy
comedy
Pop.
to be mined.
I mean, my God, Iggy Pop, still cavorting around without a shirt, and it's like, please, for the love of God, put a shirt on, Iggy.
Well, that's well. What about Rush? They still touring?
No, they lost their drummer.
Oh, unfortunately, their drummer passed away. So, but he's lauded as one of the great. It's a real shame.
Huh. So you say, if you say so, sir. But anyway, yeah. So, all right. Well, we'll leave it at that. Maybe we'll do a Spinal Tap 2 review when it comes out, or maybe not. All right. Thanks everybody for an amazing 100th episode. And it's drinks on me, the Moulin Rouge. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Fabulous Film and Friends. Copyright 2025, a Bel Air Films production.